Guess who's back? Heck yeah. I'm here. I'm bringing some energy like these two wanted me to because I've been out. But we hear Eagles talk every Monday. And of course, we're talking OTAs. It's me. It's Pete. It's PY coming at you. Let's go.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia! What is up, party people? You already know how it be. It's your OGP. Back over here, we got this guy, my right-hand man, Chucks. We got PY. He coming in fly. He was flying for real. He was cutting the clothes. He was cutting the clothes. He was cutting the clothes. But, hey, man.
I'm more on time than Chuck's have been his 2 weeks.
Hey, vacation doesn't count. Vacation doesn't count.
I
had a date with
Excuses are
Mouse,
like
so.
assholes. Everyone has one.
Do you notice, like, can you see, I got dark.
You are darker. You're darker than me almost. Like, honestly. I'm not even the darkest person on this show right now. That's crazy. That's crazy. But as always, it's Eagles Talk on A2D Radio. You already know what it is. A2D Radio across all socials, all platforms. We appreciate you rocking with us. Somewhere, if you get into the show by 15, 20 minutes, just do a favor, like, share, subscribe. We already brought to you by Baju's Bread, located in the Mount Laurel of New Jersey, home of the best stuffed bread, tomato pie, sandwich, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. Tonight's going to be kind of transition into what we got upcoming in about 6-7 weeks into that training camp. But before that, we got these three little letters, OTAs. So tonight's poll question is Quinyon Mitchell the biggest name to watch during OTAs? Agree or disagree? So since he is back again, tell a friend that Chucksy's back again. So I'm going to him on this side, lead off. P, why don't you shake your head at me? Mr. Shake your head at me. I don't even think he's shaking his head at me, but it is what it is. That was cheesy. That was very low-hanging fruit on my part. So, Chucks, lead us away with the answer to tonight's poll question.
I'm going to disagree to the poll. I know that he's the hot name because he's the first-round pick. He's the corner that's going to come in and be the opposite or projected opposite of Darius Slay. He's going to be hopefully the future of this cornerback room. So everyone's going to be talking about him, and we're going to get into our biggest position battles in camp. So I'm pretty sure we're going to talk corner. We're going to talk about cornerback room because that's loaded now. That there's so many guys. So we're going to talk about who's in, who's out. But I'm not looking at him primarily at these OTs. There are other guys that I think you could argue for. I'm going to bring up names. I'm going to bring up a guy like Jordan Davis. I'm going to bring up a guy like now I can't remember his name. The guy we just signed from the Jets, edge player. Why can't I remember?
Bryce Huff?
Yeah, Bryce Huff. Thank you. Bryce Huff. How's he going to come in? He's supposed to be the starter opposite Josh Sweat. How's he going to come in and look? You're going to look two linebackers, Kobe Dean, Devin White. How are they going to look? So those four, because they're so intriguing in terms of how we need guys to step up and make plays on this defense. Those units are going to be really spotlighted. Not so much the offensive side, even though there are some intriguing names like Saquon. Everyone's going to be watching Saquon, but we know what Saquon is. Like on the offensive side, it's not so much what you're going to be looking at, but the defensive side, a lot of, I'm going to say unknown, not question marks, just unknown. So Quinton Mitchell is definitely someone we're going to be focusing on, but I disagree. Biggest name would have to be between one of those four. If I'm going to pick, I'm going to be looking at someone, it's probably going to be Bryce Huff because, while I was out, I know you guys talked about what the biggest need is so far, or, after the draft, you guys talk about pass rush. I don't agree with that, but if it is still pass rush, Bryce Huff is supposed to be here to look at Hassan or replace Hassan Reddick, right? He's never been a full-time player, been a rotational guy. He's got the money now. What's he going to do now that he has that big contract and is expected to be the guy. So that to me, it's Bryce Huff, but you can make an argument for guys like Jordan Davis, who's in the third year and hasn't met expectations so far. You know, can he take that leap? He looks fit. If you saw him, you guys saw him at the Eagles offseason challenge. Oh my god, he looks really fit. So he'd be another guy. So those two guys are probably top of my head. I'd look at.
All right, PY, I'm gonna go to you next. Where we out on the poll?
So I disagree, just because while I really like everything that Quinyon Mitchell adds to this defense. You have a legit number 2 to where you could have him on the outside, and you're not petrified of that 60-yard bomb that he's eventually going to give up, because he's just not James Bradbury. So that's great. But my one name to watch is Cooper the G. He was my number 1 guy in the draft. We got him somehow, some way, how he snags him in the second round. And obviously, you're probably going to keep him at nickel as of now. But he's just so versatile. There's so many ways that they can use him. And like I said, in year 1, the goal is probably keep it simple, stupid. We're going to keep you at nickel. But Fangio having a Swiss Army knife like him, he has to be salvaged of all the different ways that you can use him. You can use him nickel. You can use him on the outside. Use him on the inside. Use him linebacker. Use him at safety. There's just so many. Hell, you can even have him return punts. There's so many different options you can use him at. This is the guy who I think is the most interesting to watch during OTAs.
Okay. So, damn, I didn't think both of y'all would disagree to the poll, honestly. Now I feel
just when bad. You think you know, you.
I feel like for defensive side, I'll agree, because the hype is there now. So I'm not taking anything away from Cooper, but the hype for Quinyon to be this, honestly, this Sauce Gardner-esque presence not right away, maybe not as advanced. But not too far. Hopefully by game 4, game 5, this dude finds it and he's our number 1 corner for the next 6 to 7 years, right? So I'm gonna agree from that standpoint. But overall, the whole roster, I vehemently disagree. And I didn't think the fam in the chat would get to that point, but I disagree for different reasons. Both for you, I disagree with the poll, and I disagree with you too. Okay. Most important player in the OTAs, somebody said it. I think Eric Barrett just said it. It's Cam Jurgens. That is your most important player.
Yeah,
that's a solid choice.
Yeah.
If he ain't it, there is no backup behind him. You are you going from.
There's a backup.
I mean, there is. It's bad enough you already taken a step down from one of the greatest centers of all time, if not the greatest center of all time. Yes, I said that. And Jason Kelce, a Hall of Famer, first ballot. Now you going to Cam Jurgens. We've seen him play. We haven't seen him play at that spot. And if your center isn't right up the middle, I don't care what type of horses you got on the offensive side. It ain't going to work. Those, especially how we pull and how we roll out, which I think Cam can do, that negates Saquon Barkley. Chuck, she might as well not even buy one of those T-shirts you was putting in the chat today. It negates re-signing. It negates extending Devontae. It negates extending AJ. It doesn't matter, because if you can't protect, Jalen already going to be running for his life anyway. We already sat here and said last week, his pocket presence and his awareness is one of the biggest things that he needs to improve upon. And that's with a clean pocket. So if Jurgens ain't hitting like that and he can't protect, and you got a dirty pocket, which most of us do, you got some dirty pocket, put your hands in your jeans or your pants, whatever else you got going on, guess what's going to happen? He going to start running again. And it's going to make the weapons you have on offense ineffective. It's going to make Kellen Moore's system ineffective. So I definitely think it's Cam Jurgens early on. I honestly believe, if you ask me this question, training camp, preseason, hell, to me, honestly, I'll go all the way out. Cam Jurgens is the most important player in the offense this year, in my opinion. Honestly,
Well,
outside non-Jalen.
Okay. With that
non-Jalen, non-quarterback. The biggest key to this offensive to this team's offensive success is going to be Cam Jurgens. It has to be, because what he's replacing. Don't get me wrong, Fletch is the all-time Eagles great. I got Jalen Carter right there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I honestly think, I think Trevor Keegan ends up being your starting right guard. I think he beats out Tyler Steen, in my opinion. Because I think he has it more, and he's coming off of that, already playing at the right guard position.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Cam is it, because I don't think it's being talked about enough. Cool.
Yeah, I agree.
You were ranked dead last in the league in pass defense. Chances are everything you did, that was an anomaly last year for the pass defense in the secondary. That was an anomaly. That's not going to happen again. Even if you had the same exact players and the personnel, just for the fact that you changed the coaches and you changed the ideology, I don't think you're going to be dead last in the league in pass defense this year. Offensive line, this is the first time we have offensive line questions and uncertainty in the last 10 years. Almost 10, maybe 10 is. I'm gonna say at least 8. At least 8 years. You felt as if the offensive line wasn't talked about. I don't have that luxury now.
Yeah.
And you sit here, you got all these fancy cars, you know what I mean? All these horses that you have on offense that go fast and can do things and they need space. But guess what? If we can't protect the quarterback consistently, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter. And we already have a problem with Jalen stepping up in the pocket. And he get able to step up in the pocket because the middle of the pocket was pretty clean. If that's not clean, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? You know what I mean? And that's what we don't want to see. I don't want to see the back of Jalen's jersey, number one, running around all the place.
Yeah.
I want to see him stepping up in the pocket. And dude, he's under, as much as we sit here and we talk about Jalen, how much pressure he's under.
Jurgens is under just as
Cam is under just as immense amount of pressure as Jalen. Because
not even just like everything he does, like playing the center position. Like we don't talk about like all the things that Kelsey did that just went unnoticed. All the checking at the line, all the talking to Jalen, all the like matching his cadence and understand how things were gonna go. Like not to mention like all the run stopping he's doing while adjusting to everything. He's following Jalen or Carson and whoever the hell was the QB 30 yards down the line. Like, not every center is capable of doing that. And
I'm not expecting you can't expect Kelsey if you get anything close to that, but we can't have this dude be Danny Watkins, which I don't think he is. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but we seen him play at right guard last year, and he played fairly well. I just don't know what we're going to see for him as a center and replacing one of the all-time greats. And just knowing what this system is and how, like some systems, they have a center who they keep everything in front. They don't pull. They don't do all that. Nah, our center need to get up, hit that block, be able to call out protection and go and get 10, 15 yards down the field, because that's how you spring something from a 20-yard play to a 40-yard play. So you already know what it is. We're going to do this real quick, get to some comments. But before we do that, we're going to bring him in. The real reason why y'all came to watch us tonight anyway.
As always.
I doubt that's true for anyone.
Mr. Les Bowen, how are we feeling tonight, Les?
Great. How are you fellas?
We're good.
Right.
We're good.
Cannot complain.
Now, I know you're underway here, so I assume that you've already observed the traditional moment of silence for the Eagles' career of Devontae Parker, right?
We did an in memoriam before we hit the intro tonight.
So many memories.
Frank Gore.
The memories just come flooding back.
I'm making
fun of the guy, but God bless him. I mean, I think he was going to have a hard time making the team this year. And if he thinks it's time, it's probably time. It's not a sport you can play halfway, So, but it is funny that I kind of forgot that he was actually on the roster. Even though when they signed him, I made a point. I think I told you guys when they signed him, I remembered very, very well that game he played for Miami against the Eagles several years ago, where he just killed the Eagles. It was one of the best performances by a wide receiver I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a long time ago.
Yes. Well, Les, we definitely thank you. We definitely thank you for being here. I want to jump right into our poll question for you tonight.
The dog has decided to drink an entire bowl of water while I'm on this. I'm sure you can hear that.
Actually, I mean, my dog does the same thing just from coming outside and then wants to go back outside again. I don't know why dogs do what they do.
She's disruptive. That's all there is to it. So the poll question, Quinyon Mitchell is the biggest name to watch during OTAs. Yeah, I mean, he is the biggest name to watch. I don't know if we're going to tell anything about him, unless he falls down or hurts himself or something. But, yeah, no doubt about it. I heard you mention Cam Jurgens. You're not going to tell anything about Cam Jurgens from OTAs, I don't think. I mean, everything you said was exactly right. There are a lot of things we need to know about him, but I don't think OTAs are going to, have much to do with that. Right. That's the thing about football is you want all these answers, and the off season is so long. It's we're months and months away from knowing much about Cam Jurgens or Quinyon Mitchell either for what that's worth. But with Mitchell, you'll be able to see how he moves and whether he seems to be comfortable, whether the coaches are giving him a lot of direction, like, no, do this, or if it just seems like he's on top of everything and relaxed and so forth. Yeah. You can tell a little bit from that.
Right. You feel like almost like if the moment's too big from him, if this game speed is like, if he can get caught up, or if he feels like he's overwhelmed.
Yeah. You want to know if he looks comfortable out there, but you're really not going to know whether he's a starting corner as a rookie out of OTAs, unfortunately.
Right.
It'd be nice if you did.
Right. If you had to pick a second, if you had to pick somebody that's number 2, the biggest to watch from OTAs, just off the top of your head, who would you say?
Well, it's hard because like I said about Jurgens, a lot of the stuff that you really want to know, you just can't get from OTAs. I like the right guard. I want to know who the right guard is, but that OTAs aren't going to tell you anything about that. Right. There's no pads. There's nobody unless you line up facing the wrong way or something. I mean, it's you can't tell anything about the right guard competition from OTAs. Right. So I'm going to go with, and this might be really esoteric, but I'm going to go with Isaiah Rodgers.
That's a good one.
This is a guy that he could be a big part of what they do this year, or he could be we could forget he's even around by November. I don't know. But this is a guy that was a good NFL corner, took a year off, gambling suspension. You can tell something, I think, from OTAs about whether he looks like he hasn't played in forever or run in forever, or, whether he looks comfortable out there, whether he looks like he's, in the flow, I guess. And, you can start to get an idea of what the coaches say and stuff about whether he's really kind of in the mix, at least to be the nickel this year, or if he's just sort of, hanging around like Devin Allen did for a few years.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, honestly, we could say this the same as from Quinyon, what we feel is if he's going to be comfortable. But you could take that through what we're going to is Trotter Jr. going to be comfortable? Is any of the rookies is the spot going to look too big? One name that really does intrigue me is Jalix Hunt. This project, if he can give you anything, and if you can see that spark, because that's kind of what OTAs are. See if these guys coming healthy. They see if you see that same quick twitch that they had on film that made you call their name during those 3 days on that card to see if there's validation there, right? To see if, hey, I'll use it to say if Sirianni's, if that flower is going to grow. You're planting that flower now to see if it's going to grow into fruition of what that vision is that you had for that player. So I really don't. Everything we're talking about so far is mainly on the defensive side. I mean,
Well, that's where most of the questions are, frankly.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly.
like I said, right guard is a big question, and center, obviously, with Kelsey retiring. But otherwise, offensively, you're talking about the third wide receiver. You know,
right? Like, you know who
there's
your
nothing else
is.
that's going to be. We know who the starters are in every other sense. One thing I will say offensively is you're going to start setting the narrative on what's up with Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore. You know, does Jalen Hurts look like he's making decisions quickly, and that there's some new wrinkles? You know, it's not the same offense, we assume. And how is he picking this up? How is he commanding it? Does he seem to be having fun out there with it? You know, does he, again, comfort, ease, efficiency, those kinds of things. That's probably the story of the season, really, right there.
Yeah.
But other than that, offensively, you know, I'm not going to be watching A.J. Brown or anything like that, you know, in OTAs.
So, yeah, Les, that brings up the question I had for you was, what do you know, as being, you know, covering the team in your history, what do you look for? What can you get out of, and what is the difference between OTAs and training camp? Obviously, you touched on how there are no pads. That's one thing, but like, what is the mindset of a team? At right now, you're in corporate. This is usually the first time you're having the rookies implemented with the vets, but then there's no pads. Like, it's still really early. So, what do you, as a reporter, or you know, before, what do you take out of it? Like, what can you take out of it?
You know, there's several things. One is you want to see who passes the eye test, and not just in terms of speed and stuff like that. Someone else today that I was talking to mentioned Donnell Pumphrey when he was a rookie.
Yep.
The second all of us saw this guy, we were like, because you can be a small running back. I think, as we all know, you can be a small running back, but you have to be – the good small running backs are stoutly built. They're built like fire plugs. They're very powerful. Donnell Pumphrey was like somebody shrunk a wide receiver. You know, he was a skinny little guy. He was muscular in his upper body, but he had no bulk to him at all. He had very slim hips. That doesn't work at that position. And I think we all kind of thought right away, this doesn't work. Another one that I remember a long, long time ago, before you guys were born, was Jerome McDougal.
I've heard.
Everybody talks now about, he got shot. You know, first time I saw that guy, he had an undeveloped upper body. He was like 6'1", and not lean and angular 6'1". He looked like a kind of a small guard to me. You know, so that's one thing you look at. What are we looking at here? Some guys show up and you're like, really, like Josh Sweat looks like. Josh Sweat with his shirt off looks like a statue of what a football player should look like. I mean, he's chiseled, you know. You know, you're worried about the knee, but you thought, oh my God, look at that guy. Right. He's, 6'4". So there's that. And then there's the whole, do they seem to be in sequence with everybody else? Are they like puzzled, and are they dropping out of drills because they don't know what to do, or they're not in shape or something? But they really don't do.
It's their mom holding an umbrella.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But they really don't do stuff that really, it's not arduous at all. And especially with new systems like they have, a lot of it's going to be standing there saying, okay, this guy needs to be here in this situation, and you can't tell a whole lot out of that. You really can't. Yeah. You talk to people, which is really important. You kind of get a sense of what kind of guy is this? Who is he going to be easy to deal with? Is he going to be quotable? Is he going to be, does he seem defensive? Does he seem overwhelmed? You can get those kinds of things out of it.
Right.
But the difference with training camp is intensity. Even though training camp isn't what it was in the Andy Reid days when they did 2-a-days with pads, it's still a much more people are playing for jobs or practicing for jobs from day one, and that is not the case in OTAs. I mean, they might cut a few guys and add a few guys, but nobody's going out there thinking, boy, I have to kill it in OTAs to make the team. Yeah. So from day one, training camp is a little more intense, and they do drills in training camp that you're not going to see in OTAs, like the one-on-one pass rusher, pass blocker drills, which we all like to watch, and which, can tell you a little something, I think. You don't see that in OTAs. They just don't do that stuff, So it's a valuable thing, but there's an awful lot that, we're going to have no idea, like this new kickoff stuff, until they play a preseason game.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it's going to be.
Doing, whatever they're doing, it's, there was a time years and years and years ago when we were out there every day for that. And we would go in the locker room every day. And now they let you out there like once a week, and there's no locker room. They bring whoever they want to talk to you to the auditorium, which is a real, there's the name, Lorenzo Booker. Yes.
Who?
He was the great, Lorenzo was wonderful.
You don't remember Lorenzo Booker?
Lorenzo Booker was a running back. He was a famous college running back at Florida State, I believe. Am I right about that?
Yes.
And they got him. I guess he had already played in the league with maybe Miami or somebody.
It was Miami.
And it was right after Westbrook left. So they were looking for the new Brian Westbrook. And Lorenzo Booker had credentials. But again, he was like Donnell Pumphrey. He was maybe a little more muscular than Donnell, but the same slender hips, not a block of wood kind of guy. But he looked great in OTAs because nobody hits anybody in OTAs. He was scampering around and jitterbugging, and he was always like real. He was a good talker too. He was upbeat. He was, first guy out there every day, really excited about it, always quotable. And we were all thinking, that's Lorenzo Booker. Then the first preseason game came along, and a guy just sort of reached out and he went down easier than anybody I've ever seen. And it wasn't because he was a coward or anything. It was because he wasn't strong enough.
Yeah,
it was a disaster. He was terrible. So but you can't tell that from OTAs. The guy looked like he was going to Canton in OTAs.
Yeah, it's almost like we sit here and we talk about what the eye test is on the field, but also these building blocks that OTA set, like you said, even for you when you were covering a team, it's kind of like who you're getting the feel for, that if there is something that happens during the season, who can I go to for that is, like you said, quotable. A lot of players that tell you something, but a lot of players may not be able to tell you something or articulate in a way that you can actually put it in print. Or you can't use it. And then from there, you have to judge and go from there. But the scheme installation, we kind of talked about it, right? On the offensive, the defensive side. It's like, okay, now that we got these guys and we drafted them, let's not just see what they could do on the field to see if that validates and translates, right? Let's give them something basic in the classroom and kind of see how they take to that. Because obviously, by the time training camp starts, you're going to have scheme installation. You're going to have that. But these players already have their playbook. Like so these rookies already have, everybody on the team already has the playbook at some capacity. Maybe not all of it, but they have some. And you trust and believe those coaches, if they're anything worth their salt, they've already tested these guys. And I think OTA started today, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They were out there today. Unfortunately, reporters weren't, but the reporters will be out there Wednesday afternoon, I believe.
Gotcha. Okay. So they've already had that. Okay. So Trotter Jr., for instance, this is the play call. This is what we're facing. What am I going to?
Right.
And that could be for a rookie.
The coaches will know whether he's doing that stuff right. Now, reporters might not, seeing him once a week, we might not have. I mean, you might have to just really focus on him to have any idea whether unless he's throwing up his hands and throwing down his helmet and yelling that he's confused or something. Right. We might not know. Those are things that will get ironed out hopefully during OTAs. And Nick is this is a very crucial point, I think, that needs to be made. Nick has been very light on this stuff throughout his tenure. It started because when he showed up, we were still kind of in the COVID protocols. And then they were in the Super Bowl, and it was a short off season, and he was just trying to keep people healthy. Well, this is a year where they're going to work in the spring, I think.
That's a good. Yeah.
You know, the first year he was currying favor with the veterans. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he basically made a deal with them that if they would show up for the OTAs, which are optional for veterans, he wouldn't have a mini camp at the end of OTAs, which was, we had never heard of this. What do you mean you're not going to have mini camp? You know, because that is mandatory for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big week or so before you break and leave for 6 weeks before coming back for training camp.
Right.
And we've always thought that was the key part of spring. But Nick wanted everybody there from the get-go and more time with them to install stuff and, you know, work on culture and stuff like that. So he made a deal with the veterans. You show up for this and we won't have minicamp. Well, they're not doing that this year. They're going to have minicamp. You know, it's going to be a full plate of preparation. And if you listen to Vic Fangio, guys on defense are going to work.
Sounds great.
This is going to be a little bit that this is something else that's going to be tracked is how will this be different? The dog now wants to get up in my lap. Now this is
of course.
Okay.
Of course.
What a drama queen you are.
But no, honestly, when we hear that Fangio is going to make these guys work and what has been transpiring up until this point, what has been transpiring up until this point after that collapse of last year, if I'm Nick, I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
If I feel like I failed you as a coach, I can't be the only one here that's changing up from last year because my failures had led to the team's failures, right? So I know some of the guys aren't here. And one of the things they did do this year, this offseason, is they changed over the clock. They changed over the clock from being an older team to being a younger team. And sometimes when your dog was a pup, when she was younger, guess what? You had to be on her more. You can't give them free reign, and you have to earn that. They haven't earned that yet.
Yeah, a year ago, this was a team you could say, by and large, had nothing to prove. You know, they had just been to the Super Bowl and lost by 3 points. If they'd gotten the ball back, they probably would have won. You know, you weren't facing the kind of questions you face this spring, and it's going to have to be a totally different. I mean, I don't expect him to run out there with a bullwhip or anything, but I do think it'll be a very different tone. There's a lot that needs to be established this spring. There's new leadership that has to, you know, form its base of operations. And it's a big spring for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And it's a lot going on. Anytime you have like a CEO change or like when T-Mobile and Sprint, when they merged, when actually T-Mobile acquired Sprint at that point in time, there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of double back office people, and you don't need all that. So now with this, you got all the coaches coming in because the full staff on offense, full staff on defense. There's a lot to try to do in a little short amount of time, and everything has to be on point. Everything has to be poignant to the fact that everything may not click all at once, but when it doesn't, you have to be able to double back around because you can't have those bad habits. You don't want those going into in the training camp, going into the preseason games, you know, so because then that's going to bleed into the regular season. We don't want to have that. And if you do see something, correct it and then show that correction and see if that's going to, because that wasn't there last year. I'm excited though. Like now I'm really starting to get reared up for it. There was, to try to change the direction real quick, there was one question. We talked about him earlier. I know Chuck started for me earlier. So here we go with Andrew Baker. With Devontae Parker retiring, should we sign someone like a Renfro or see what rookies have to bring to the table? I'm all for Hunter Renfro.
I'd be fine with that.
I like Hunter Renfro, but I don't have the roster in front of me. I don't know, what the other opportunities were there. Who knows what Johnny Wilson might do? He might be terrible. He might be good. If they want to bring Hunter Renfro in, that's fine with me. If they don't, for now, I'm probably okay. There's going to be other guys as the summer goes on. It's not a position where you're not talking about a true starter. You've got two great wide receivers. I'm fine either way. I mean, but that's not a bad idea, certainly.
No.
I think they probably bring in an extra veteran just for the offseason, just so that they have someone to compete. Because as of right now, your backup outside wide receiver is Johnny Wilson. And while Johnny Wilson is an interesting prospect, I don't really know what they have in him. Now, here's a name that's been thrown out there that would make Chuck's go utterly insane. Slant man, Michael Thomas.
No.
Nope.
I don't have interest.
I want to do it. I want to do it just for the reactions.
No, because where you need him at, I need you to line up in the slot. I'd rather go get me Blessum before you give me Michael Thomas. I'd rather go get me Jarvis Landry, who probably has nothing left in the tank. I would take him over Michael Thomas.
I think with when it comes to like the slot guys, the slot options, if they wanted to bring in Hunter Renfrow, they would have done it over Paris Campbell. So you got to remember, Paris Campbell's here too. So I mean, I think that's what it is. I think with Paris Campbell, Nia Smith, Paris Campbell and Nia Smith, I think it's going to come down to those two. I think you're going to look at, okay, which one of these can make an impact and look good in OTAs, training camp, preseason, and they're going to win the job as that slot option. You know what I mean? So
we'll see. There'll be, like I said, there's going to be guys crop up, and they sometimes just decide. You know, a few years ago, we were all crafting the narrative about how they were going to go with what they had at safety and blah 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 blah, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson suddenly is made available like a week. What was that? A week before the season started, I think.
No, probably 10 to 14 days, so a week and a half to 2 weeks.
You know, I mean,
it came out of nowhere.
Plan changed. You know, I mean, so that kind of, I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that. But
Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby was another one.
Great one.
Yes.
That was an
interesting name that's been thrown out there. I keep seeing he's basically made available now. John Mechie.
Oh, okay.
Is he healthy?
Is that an actual report or is that a rumor? People, I don't like. It's an assumption. I know that, but I haven't seen an official report saying that he is available.
But my thing is he healthy though? That's
he played. He got cleared from his diagnosis. So he's good to go. It's just they have a stable wide receivers down in Houston. So I mean, you can see that maybe he's expendable. But I mean, maybe the Texans want to hold on to him. I mean, Diggs is only there for like a year essentially with the way they reworked that contract. So I mean, it's maybe they do want to hold on to him for long term. Les, before we send you off, I always say Marshawn Lynch. Martian Lynch did have a question for you. He says, Les, what's your confidence level in Fangio turning the defense into a respectable unit? Feels like the fan base thinks Fangio gets this thing turned around instantly.
Well, I don't know if they're going to be the best defense in the league or anything like that. I don't think they have to be with the offense that they should have. Mm-hmm. But it's a low bar to clear, frankly, after last year.
Yeah.
It was chaos. I remember a commentator saying during a game that it looked like the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary were playing three different schemes.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. I don't think you'll see that. So, I think there'll be a respectable defense. I really do.
Right.
I have a little bit of concern about edge rush because, other than the obvious concerns about linebacker and who's the other corner, all that stuff. I have a little bit of edge rush concern because of the changes that they've made and because the Nolan Smith deal still kind of, I'm a little worried about that guy. But I think Fangio I think they'll have at least a middle of the pack defense. I don't think people will be, 5 for 5 on touchdown drives or anything like that. If they get a couple touchdowns, something will change. Either the guys on the field or the scheme or something is going to change. They're not just going to sit there and watch it. So, I feel reasonably good about Vic Fangio, while also keeping in mind that football tends to be more about the players than the coaches. I think sometimes they make it too much about the coaches, but they have players. It's not like this is they have addressed, with the draft, with
good chunk of their needs,
with Josh Huff. They've Josh Huff,
Bryce.
That's a name.
He can't do punt returns.
No, but I think they've addressed things well enough that they
Right.
should be able to do better than they did last year with a guy in charge who's really going to take command of the situation and demand respect from the players.
Mhm.
Agree.
Yeah, I completely agree. There is one more question I want to get to because you spoke about Chauncey. So I'm just going to lead me to this. Who signs Justin Simmons, Les?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's been out there all off season, I guess. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the Eagles.
Yes.
I don't have any idea with Sidney Brown what the prognosis is there. My inclination is to not count on him at all this year because he was injured so late in the season. But if that is the deal, if you're not going to have him at all, maybe you do want somebody else. Maybe you do need another face back there, a veteran who's got some pop. With CJ, you just never quite know.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they didn't bring him back last year wasn't really money. It was because he's kind of he wears out his welcome everywhere he goes. It seems
he's
like
an acquired taste.
Yeah, he's an acquired taste, and it might not be. It could be a disaster, but they haven't done it. So I kind of think if they had any serious designs on it, they would have done it. The dog is again trying to get in my lap. We'll see how this goes. He weighs 55 pounds, so it's not that easy.
It's not easy.
There we go. Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, Allie, say hi to everybody. Yeah.
Hi.
That is not no pup, Chucks. That is
I call every dog a pup.
No, but that's where I think the longer that this goes, the likelihood of the Eagles getting Justin Simmons' signature to dry on Eagles paper is increasing. And the only difference is the only thing I would have some hesitation is this. I want to like you have two free safeties at that point. But in today's NFL, that may not be a bad thing.
No,
it's not.
It may not be a bad thing to have two safeties who have knowledge and expertise to play free safety, because then at some point maybe you can roll Chauncey down to be in the corner in the slot or it just gives you multiple looks. And with Fangio, I mean both, and I want to say this: Chauncey, while not as big as Justin Simmons, his want to tackle is just as
it's there.
It's there. There's
he wants
no
to tap you into the next dimension.
Yeah, so I don't have any fears about even him being slight of a frame to have any lack of want to tackle. I think that's still going to be there.
Justin Simmons. That would be the coup de grace.
It's funny because Pete, where you say you think it's increasing, I think it's decreasing. I think if there was actual interest, it would have happened. So I think that the longer
it may be a money thing. And
I think if there was huge interest, they would have done it.
Oh yeah,
as long as he doesn't sign anywhere else,
right?
It's always
I think also with Justin Simmons though, I think because people also connected okay, he played under Fangio before, he had a career year, so you would think that if Justin Simmons believed in Fangio that much and loved him that much, he would have been so eager to play for Fangio again. The fact that his camp is not really eager to do so and reach out, it kind of tells me something. Now, I wish I could. I hope I'm wrong, because they bring in Justin Simmons, I'm doing backflips. I'd be ecstatic.
Or he's such a veteran and he knows Fangio and knows the defense well enough that there's no need for him to show up until the summer. I mean, I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, we don't need him right now.
Exactly. Because
Dominic Sue of
right.
I was just about to mention him too.
Because you think about the familiarity that Simmons has with Fangio's system, it is not a need right now. And maybe, and honestly, we don't know because people can be reaching out to Simmons right now, and he's like, nah. Literally, for the team like the Eagles, who already has familiarity with Fangio's system, they could have a deal in place, a handshake deal in place, where he wants this time to be with his family.
Right. Yeah,
because he's very, very family oriented and grounded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wouldn't shock me.
I mean, schematically wise, it still could work because I forget which one of you touched on it. You could be looking at Chauncey as a hybrid safety base, but then and in nickel sub packages, he could be your nickel. Because right now, Avonte Maddox is slated as the nickel. If Avonte doesn't look great in camp, he's gone.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I think he's on the practice squad.
Avonte, Isaiah Rodgers, I think anybody can be the nickel right now. I think the way they brought Avonte back, it was like, oh, you don't have anywhere to go. Well, okay, come on back here. You know, I mean, it was almost like the Derek Barnett, you know, and not for the same reason. It's just because he's always hurt. You know, he's a good player. I don't really think they're counting on Avonte. I think he's here, but he kind of has to make this happen himself.
Exactly.
Is my take on it anyway.
Exactly. So I think because Chauncey is so good in the slot, he did that with that Super Bowl year. I think that it could still work because you bring him down the slot in certain packages. You still need another safety at the back end. And Sydney's not going to be here for much of the year, so you have Justin Simmons and Reed back there as a safety. So I mean, like, it could work. I would absolutely see it. I think for me, my gut instinct says it would have happened already, but I'm glad to be wrong. I would hope I'm wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So Les, I know Ellie is taking your time tonight.
He is really. I don't know what the heck is going on with this dog.
But. Any new? You have, obviously you write for PHLY. You got Les Bowen John.
Yes.
Anything new out there in the last 7 days?
I haven't come up with any other entanglements yet. No, those are pretty much the big ones. Those are the. My wife says the dog can go with her. Okay, there we go. That's about it. PHLY. I'll have something probably off of the stuff this week, and look forward to seeing you guys next Monday. Are we going to we're doing a Memorial Day show or not?
It is my 19-year anniversary for my wedding. I don't think my better half would. I think she would just pull me like how Ellie just got off screen. So
you want to know how I spent my 14th wedding anniversary?
Not with your wife.
No, I was not with my wife. I was in the press box at the Sky Dome watching Joe Carter's home run go over the left field.
That's karma. That's karma, Les.
Yeah.
Ouch. I think I never forget this. My mom had to come to school the next day after that because I think I said some choice words to my teacher just because I needed an outlet to vent because I had never felt pain like that before at all. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this anger. And the teacher asked me to do something. I was like,
traumatizing moment, no doubt about it.
The next week. So,
oh my God. Yeah, we'll keep you updated on the shows because I won't be here next week either. I'll be away on another vacation, but we'll keep you updated.
Please do, guys, and great being with you again. Take care.
As always, Les. Thank you so much.
Good night, Les.
Thank you.
Oh, bro. All right. So once again, we already know we're brought to you by Bodger's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, coffee, cutlets. I was about to say coffee. I need some coffee. Cutlets and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. So once again, everybody go check out Les, PHLY, LesBowensJoin.com. I mean, if you have any questions for Les, you can feed them to us. You all know our social handles. I'm OGP on Twitter. Chucks has his there. I don't know if PY is allowed to have Twitter again or X of that any form of matter for questions for reasons that won't be talked about on the show. But no, feed them through us and we'll reach out to Les. So where do we want to go?
I know Andrew Baker had a question here. He said, and this should be a very interesting one. He said, heard a rumor that Miles Sanders might get cut. Should we bring him back?
Yes.
Anyone
who says no is just a hater. They're like, oh, we don't need him. Really? Right. Like, if Saquon goes down and he misses a few games, you really trust Kenny Gainwell or Will Shipley?
Yeah, and most of the fan base has been irate over Kenny Gainwell. And you mean to tell me that you wouldn't want the running back who had a career year, that Super Bowl year, you wouldn't want him back as a backup? And like, I know there were some people online on Twitter that were arguing like, oh, but like he's gonna want more touches and it's not good to have two lead backs. If Miles Sanders gets cut and comes here, he knows he's the backup. Yes. There's no ego. There's no like, hey, like you can fight for RB. No, you are the backup. You're the RB2, and you and Saquon can be running mates again like you were at Penn State.
Yeah, you're used to being Saquon's backup.
They're friends. They're friends. So I mean,
Yeah.
like they would get along.
That's what like the competition would just be bred within that room. And then you talk about, like you said
Already knows the system.
Like to learn behind 2,000-yard running backs for a young running back like Will Shipley, that's priceless.
Yeah,
that's priceless. Even for Gainwell, if he stays around, that's priceless. You know what I mean? To be in that room,
that's
like,
an exceptional running back.
Oh man, like you elevate that, right?
Like because you're just crazy if you don't think it's a good idea. Like you just,
I think it's just
like I'm not the biggest like Miles guy, but like I just don't understand how you can look at that opportunity to bring him back and not even be a starter anymore. Like he's your backup, like which is fine. He's gonna know his role.
People, there are fans who still have an agenda against Miles. That's always
they still call him
I guess because he didn't live up to expectations, and they have this stigma like, oh, he's not that good, he's not that good, he's not that good, and he shouldn't be here. So they're going to be against it. But like objectively speaking, like it just makes me laugh. People really want to argue that Kenny Gainwell is better than Miles. Like we had this conversation. Like he's not. Kenny Gainwell had every opportunity to win the job last year when Miles was out, and he had week 1. He didn't do anything.
The year before,
and even the year before, like he wasn't. Like if the coaches really thought Gainwell was better than Miles, they would have had Gainwell as a starter. He was not the starter. Like it's
my thing is, I go back for Miles and I say, okay, even here's what you have to ask yourself: even if we didn't sign Saquon and Miles Sanders gets cut, and you do bring him back. At that point, in my mind, he's your number 1 back all over again, just on a cheaper deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
That's fine.
So if you have that thought process, then you definitely bring him back. I will also leave fans with this: we didn't lose the Super Bowl because Miles Sanders didn't wasn't effective. Like he got hurt. You see what I'm saying? But like he got like at some point, just talent on talent. Like why can't you have an overabundance of talent at the wide receiver position at the top 2?
Why can't you have it at running back?
You can have it at running back.
And what is this like? People, it's just so funny to me. People point out, oh, Miles sucked in the Super Bowl. Okay, what other running back lit it up in the Super Bowl? None of our running backs lit up. Like it's Kenny Gainwell. While Miles was hurt, Kenny Gainwell was in there. He did nothing. None of the running backs played well. So it's not like you can just spotlight Miles. Our running game sucked against the Chiefs. It did.
Yep.
I
think that was kind of the first game that Sirianni, Steichen got kind of caught with their pants down a little bit, and it took them a while. And then whoever knows what Gano was doing, but I would have loved to have Pacheco on the team. Like it's just me. And that's the one knock I will say with the question is if you do bring back Sanders, you still don't what we consider like a power short yardage back.
Who cares?
I have something to say to that.
Go
ahead. I've been at home for about coming on a week now, and I finally did dive into Kendall Milton tape. Okay, I did start watching. Okay, and I already I think I've already spoken about Tyrion Davis-Price because remember we do have him. I don't know the chances of it.
I don't know about that, Nate.
Down here, Nate. I don't know the chances of TDP making the roster. I don't know. Like it's going to be between him and Milton apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm comparing what TDP was coming out in that draft to what I see from Kendall Milton, I kind of like Milton more.
Okay.
I think Milton. He was another 5-star recruit out of high school. I was researching. He never really, the light bulb never really came off for him or switched on for him until this last year. Now his numbers weren't great, but if you watch his 2022 compared to 2023, he was much better. Like he was much better. So he's someone I'm not now. I don't want anyone listening to me to come away and say, oh, Chuck said Kendall Milton's going to be RB2. No, I'm not saying that. I think Kendall Milton has every bit of chance to hang on with this team. Like whether it be maybe he sticks on the practice squad. You know what I mean? I don't think he's that big of a name where a team is going to snatch him.
Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon. Maybe he sticks around for a year on the practice squad. Maybe he does make it as the RB4 and he's inactive every week, but he's still on the roster. You never know. But I think there's something there to work with Milton. I think that you watch him, his contact balance is actually pretty damn good. Like he shuts off contact and then he's strong. Like and to anyone listening, when I break down running back film, there's a difference between power and strength. Power is what impact you have when you're meeting head on with a defender. How are you going to be able to knock them back and bring that power upon impact, like the point of attack? That's power. Strength is when you have defenders on you or there's a pile. What is your ability to push that pile forward and move, fall forward for extra yards? So that's strength. He has pretty good strength when he's in a pile or when he's wrapped up with defenders. He falls forward pretty well and he will push forward for extra yards. So those are the two traits I think that stand out. Is he has really good contact balance, he has really good strength. I think that's something to work with. And his feet aren't bad. Like he did get better. So he doesn't have he's not going to juke anyone out their ankles. But I mean, his footwork isn't bad. Like it's adequate. It's solid enough where you want to meet a threshold. So I think there's something there where he could down the line, whether it be later this year, maybe next year, maybe year after, he could be like a complimentary guy if you want to hang on to him and develop it. I say all this, and I've talked about constant running backs in the past that I thought had potential that the Eagles had as like an undrafted free agent or like as a practice squad guy.
Kennedy Brooks.
He had vision. He has no. Kennedy Brooks had no burst. Trey Sermon, I think Trey Sermon's going to be RB2 to Jonathan Taylor. I think Trey Sermon's going to play pretty well. But anyways, like the list goes on. So there are running backs who had something and just never panned out. So don't take my word and say that like, oh, I'm guaranteeing he's going to make the roster and be a thing.
You heard it. He's guaranteeing.
I think Milton does have something to hang on to. And so if the Eagles still do want like a power physical runner, him and TDP are going to be that competition. And I like Milton. I think there's still upside with Milton. Where TDP, he's fast and he's big, but like I like Milton's trajectory as a prospect more. So.
Right. I can do that. So with Milton is more contact balance, strength. And what I hear about that is this: when you say those things, I'm just hearing more stable through contact, which sometimes you're going to need that. And
well, he needs to play more because he's a power runner. That's what this team needs.
I don't need it. I don't need to hear from the guy that's in the.
That's why we can't win Super Bowls. Is because we don't have a power runner on this roster. It's just embarrassing.
Rashad Penny is on the Panthers.
Hey,
wow.
Oh my God!
Let's do a queen swap. They get Rashad Penny, we get Miles Sanders.
There you go.
No,
there you go.
We'll see.
Yeah, if you speak to some Eagles fans, they'd say that's the Rashad Penny was better. So
he has one. He'll have. I'm calling it right now. He'll have one game, and he'll break off like a 20-yard run, and every Eagles fan would be like, "See, I told you so, guys."
Because of like a wide open running lane.
Exactly, he'll be wide open.
Just run forward.
Yeah,
so that'll be it.
I mean,
like a jet sweep where the whole left side is open.
Penny's legs should be fresh in Carolina. They didn't get a lot of use last year.
They did.
That's probably
the first use here.
That's the first year of his career that he did not end it injured. I think at some point.
Yeah,
he was healthy all season.
He was healthy all season. Also,
that has to be the meaning. But I mean, hey, that's such as life. That is football. So before we get out of here, I just want to say, listen to this question right here, Nate. I know I'm just saying who we have in the playoffs. Got to stick around. There's a process to what this show does during this summer and spring. Positional battles coming up. Positional rankings at some point during the summer.
The last thing we're focused on.
Everything training camp. Maybe talk some more OTAs. We didn't get into the schedule tonight because we kind of already thought, hey, that's kind of already been done.
You want to give quick predictions of record?
Yeah.
Just for the heck of it.
Yeah. Huh? You want to give a record while we get out of here?
Yeah.
13-3.
There's one more game you're missing.
13-4, then whatever. years of like going 13-3.
I know. I have to. I
Wait until they add one more. I'll be like, yeah, man, 14-3. It's like no, you're
I
missing
can't
one.
wait for them
Genius.
to add one more game. I'll say 12-5.
I was gonna go 12-5. I'm thinking 12-5, which I think
positive Pete.
I think honestly, I'm probably going to go with Detroit as probably the number 1 overall seed at 13-4. We're 12-5. Shocker,
Okay.
Nate. I do not have the 49ers winning their division. That's just
I don't either.
Nothing would be more Detroit than after giving Jared Goff all that money,
I'm going to say
a dumpster fire.
With the Lions, they should be the favorite, but I think we talked about weeks ago that division.
Expectations are a deadly thing, boys and girls.
So I mean, what's one before we got here? What's one game on the Eagles schedule that you've got circled? Ravens. Ravens week 13.
I'm gonna say Bengals. It's the AFC.
Should have been our Super Bowl last year. Not fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tell Lamar to show up in a big game. That's all.
Ooh.
I've been saying that for years, but I was called a hater.
That's his facts at that point.
Yep.
That's his facts. But for your boys, I'm OGP. That's Chucks. That's PY. Catch PY's 5. I think it's going to go up tomorrow morning. It's weird to me, but they've been going up. They've been doing well, so it's going to continue. Just make sure you keep rocking with us, A2D on all socials.
Enjoy the crazy.
We like having Chucks back. May the force be with you. I got it out still. It's going to be May. I don't know what else you want to say. But this is A2D. This is Eagles Talk on A2D Radio. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.